What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Deep Digger Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. My other host, right over here.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Thanks. We have a couple of subjects to talk about. We actually went to the 49ers preseason game against the Denver Broncos. So we're going to recap that a little bit. We're going to touch base on Trey Lance, how he went from, this scapegoat to the GOAT of preseason. And then we're also going to touch base on another young quarterback in Aiden O'Connell. As well as Skip Bayless. He has a couple new panelists. So before we get into that, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the pod. We really appreciate it. And it does help us push our content to other people that are definitely going to like it. So be sure to do that.
Yeah, and this week, just forgive the audio quality. I just moved back to San Francisco. Barely getting my setup going, but we're going to figure it out here pretty soon. Let's start off with, me and you, we went to the game. We were there. We were there to witness the greatness that is Trey Lance. We never doubted him for a second. we knew that he was the guy. What were your immediate? Oh, just highlights of this game. There was a giant fight. Was this the game that a giant fight broke out? Right?
Yeah, it broke out on the other side of the field, the one where we were.
Yeah, and where I was, like the section next to me, a guy got carried out because he fucking puked everywhere. And so that guy got carried out in the second quarter. And it was, other than that, it was a great time.
Football's back. I think everyone was just pumped that football was back in San Francisco, Santa Clara. I think it was just awesome. The vibes were immaculate. Everyone was just like pretty pumped. Just even though it was preseason, everyone was actually just really hopeful. And then I think as the game wore on, you started that. I think the fight broke out in like the third or fourth quarter. But it's just that I think you take the good with the bad when it comes to preseason. Once the game starts to get a little less interesting or things get a little bit more testy, more people are likely to throw hands.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, it was entertaining for a while, and then it got kind of boring, and then it got really entertaining. Yeah. So what were some of your main takeaways from this game?
Dude, I was a little bit worried about Brock Purdy if he was actually going to be ready for week one. He put that to bed. Like, he looked awesome on that drive. I feel pretty good about it. Another takeaway. Should I be worried about Jake Moody? Like, dude, what is going on? He completely missed the net when he missed that extra point. Again, he redeemed himself by hitting the game winner, but it is a game winner in preseason. If you can be consistent, especially as a kicker, when we know we had Robbie Gould just kind of sitting there in free agency, you kind of got to think about it. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm growing a little bit concerned with Moody. I mean, I was high on him when we drafted him.
Yeah,
I thought it was a solid pick because I'm thinking, best kicker in the draft. Let's just go for it. But now he just looks shook. I don't know what's wrong with him. If it's just he has the, what do you call it, the yips,
the
really
yips
bad, or if he's just not the guy. You don't have that mind state for the NFL. But it is preseason. I don't think we're gonna cut him because we spent that draft capital on him. So he's going to have to ride it out. And there's multiple kickers out there if we do need to make a move halfway through the season. So we'll see with that. My main takeaways are we weren't sure we had a quarterback, but I think we have 3 quarterbacks right now who are looking pretty decent. Sam Darnold, I think, continued to impress. He looks just like a solid quarterback, and I'm a Brock Purdy guy, but I'm kind of interested to see, like, what if Sam Darnold was the guy and he could kind of take over the Shanahan offense. But, I mean, you can tell from Brock right out the gate, he looks like he picked up right where he left off. He looks like he's going to be amazing. So, I mean, solid return for him. I think he's ready for week one.
Yeah. And another guy that I was like, oh, okay, was Ronnie Bell. And so, like, I like what they're doing with Ronnie Bell. There are rookie mistakes, and I see that Shanahan is kind of letting him play it out. So in 2 games, he's had 2 interceptions off of his hands. Can't have that shit. But when he gets the ball in his, like, every quarterback seems to have a repertoire with him, and they feel pretty comfortable with it. And so I could very easily see him having a role on this offense if he keeps playing like this in the next game. So I liked what I saw from Ronnie Bell on that front.
I'm so torn on Ronnie Bell, man, because first game I'm like, let's not put him back there in the return game, and then he has the drop pass that goes into a pick, but he made some great catches, and then this game has the again off his hands to an interception. Looks better in the return game. He looks like he's playing a Debo style of football out there. So I don't know. I think it's just the thing of he's a raw prospect. We're gonna need him, I think, on the roster because of the injuries to the other guys. So Ray, Danny Gray now, and if he did turn into someone for us, I mean, looking down the road, Ayuk's contract's looking pretty big coming up here. So don't want to speak too soon on it, but you do want to start looking at who could be the next guy if we just can't afford that one of our star receivers.
Yeah, man. I think he is going to take that Ray spot. Maybe not as a returner because he does kind of have that, inconsistency there. But in the pass game, once you get the ball in his hands, he is a playmaker, and he has shown that. It's just shoring up those rookie mistakes that I think is going to be the real kicker for him if Kyle Shanahan is going to trust that. And we've seen they don't really play rookies. Like, you know what I mean? That's just not something that they feel comfortable with. So if he were to, then I believe that Ronnie Bell would be a special guy,
Yeah. And I mean, we got the win at the end of the day. Do you want to talk about the guy everyone's talking about, Trey Lance? He went from one day being someone everyone wanted gone to now he's the savior of the team again. What did you take away from his performance?
I mean, it's such a wild ride within a 6-day span. He goes from being the certified biggest bust in NFL history to people on the internet saying that was a legacy defining game winning drive.
You gotta love sports media.
Yeah,
you gotta love fans.
I just think it's preseason. Everyone gets a little bit overexcited for preseason, but I don't know. I just think you see improvement the more reps he gets. And that's expected from a young quarterback that needs playing time. Again, he's not going to get those reps in the regular season unless it's a dire circumstance. If our number one goes down and possibly our number two, Kyle Shanahan actually had his press conference today where he talked about, I'm not really going to name the number 2 QB until week 1. And even then it could change throughout the week or throughout the weeks of the regular season. So it's kind of like a toss up. Even they could say QB2, but you're really not going to be QB2. Nothing's really decided. So it's kind of weird, but I mean, that's kind of what you would want from a young quarterback. I think we are seeing, guys throughout the league that are just improving throughout the play of the preseason. So I'm not overly impressed by it, if I'm going to be completely honest. I think it was a solid showing from a young quarterback. Would I have used the number 3 pick on him? Probably not, but it is what it is.
Do you think he's done enough now? I mean, we're talking one preseason game here against the Breeze,
but to cement his legacy.
Has he done enough now to where you're like, maybe I want to see more of this guy? Maybe he should be the backup, and we're wasting our time with this Sam Darnold guy who we've seen what he is.
My preference is still Darnold. If I look back to the Raider game, he played the worst out of all the quarterbacks. Hands down. He had the worst game. Aiden O'Connell looked good. Sam Darnold looked good. Brandon Allen looked better than Sam Darnold at that point. So
I'd say Chase Garber looked better than Trey Lance in that game.
Trey Lance looked like Kellen. We had talked about this off screen. He looked like Kellen Mond. And we were talking about it okay, if the Vikings, which were a trade partner in this whole hypothetical here, why would they have wanted to trade for Trey Lance when they just had Kellen Mond in the building and they weren't impressed? And that's kind of what he looked like. He looked like Kellen Mond.
Yeah, and I mean now he's out there looking like what would even be his comp? Who did he look like in that game?
I would say, what's a good comp? Like a young Blake Bortles.
You're foul for that shit.
Blake Bortles was good. He made it to a AFC Championship game.
You know, guy that wasn't that great at the end. That's what this Trey Lance guy looks like. No, I mean, to me, I don't want to jump on any side of the Trey Lance argument here or get crucified. I didn't think he looked like amazing. I thought it was just like a backup quarterback looking okay and doing what needed to be done to go out there and put up a couple points.
How dare you? Are you a fucking hater? What are you talking about?
Like, what did he do that you were like, damn, that guy has like, he's the most talented guy on this team. He's looking amazing.
There wasn't anything where it was like it blew me away, but there were impressive throws, good throws, solid throws that NFL quarterbacks make. The sideline throw to Tay Martin, that over the middle throw, the long cross where it was in a tight window. So there were plays where it was like, oh, okay, cool. But again, we're talking about the number 3 pick in the NFL draft here.
And you're setting the bar at can make an NFL type throw.
Yeah.
Like, so I think what it was he looked so bad in the first game, and then he looked like an average quarterback in the next game. So then it was like stocks up. He went from the Dogecoin being at 1 cent, it's at almost $1. Like that's how much he skyrocketed on in people's eyes. So I don't know. We'll see what the next game. I'd love to see him just. I think it was telling a little bit that Kyle gave him that last slot, and I was almost like, why is Sam Darnold in the third quarter right now?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't he giving Trey Lance all this run? So I thought that was weird, like taking more reps away from Trey Lance to give Sam Darnold more. But I want to see Trey Lance play like almost the whole game this next preseason game.
See, I don't know if they're going to end up doing that. I think they're going to give him a healthy portion of snaps because obviously he needs it and he's playing better with the snaps before you put him on the shelf. But I think this could be a good Brandon Allen showcase. I was listening to Haberman of the Haberman and Middlecoff podcast talk with Tim Kawakami today. And he was saying like, this is a perfect setup for them to ship out Brandon Allen. He was just with the Bengals. Joe Burrow's hurt. He could be out until week 6. You could ship over a like ready-made backup for a draft pick for the Bengals. Like, and I could see that happening.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's no trade partner for Trey Lance at this point. Or even like Sam Darnold, there's no trade. There's no one like clamoring to be like, let's get that guy as our backup. Like he solidified himself as the backup in San Francisco, and like that's what he's gonna do. So I mean, he's gonna be on this team no matter what. There wasn't a question of that. But as far as Trey Lance, if you wanted to ship him away and keep Brandon Allen, like there's no one to unless he plays like a Mahomes level third game in the preseason, and someone tears an ACL, like who would even want to take him on?
Yeah, I mean, there's not it would be the same problem. It was like when we talked about Will Levis going to the Titans, it was like, okay, well, what was the problem? He had a bad O-line, not really great receivers, and he didn't really trust the offensive coordinator. And what did he go to? The Tennessee Titans, where it was a bad O-line, no wide receivers, and he didn't really trust. It'd be like the same thing if you shipped him off to somewhere else because he's not going to be the starting quarterback. Like, yeah. I can't name a team where he is going to go and start immediately. So why would a team trade you a draft pick just for him to sit on the bench and not improve?
Yeah, and especially we'll move into our next topic because there is no trade market for Trey Lance. I think partly it's because all of these rookie quarterbacks are looking pretty solid. This is a sneaky deep quarterback class. It's headlined by guys like DTR.
Yep.
And Aiden O'Connell is surprising a lot of people. So what have you seen from Aiden O'Connell?
Yeah, man. I mean, he looks like he's been there before. It's just one of those things. He's a guy coming out of Purdue. He played a lot of football. It's almost like the Brock Purdy effect, where they're taking these starters that have played they're just experienced. So the guys who are really shining, Stetson Bennett, surprisingly, he's shining.
Jake Haener looked solid.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson shining. Aiden O'Connell shining. Like all these young guys that have just played a lot of football. They've played in big games. They were the guy on campus, and they're moving into the NFL like, I feel comfortable. I'm ready to roll. I got this. And so it is really telling. And what I see from Aiden O'Connell is I think that he actually likes the offense as is. Like, I think where Derek Carr wanted to mesh and do kind of his thing, and Josh McDaniels wanted to do his thing, the two forces just kind of didn't really meet in the middle and make it work. Whereas Aiden O'Connell's like, I'm fine with this. Like, hey, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. And I'm going to do it pretty well. And would you be surprised if he ended up by the end of the season as the starting quarterback of the, I almost said Oakland, as the Las Vegas Raiders?
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, they got a stopgap quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's always hurt. He's injury prone. So there's that aspect of it. And then you have, like, do they want to sit through a rut of Jimmy throwing key interceptions in 2 or 3 games in a row, and then you're struggling to fight for a playoff spot? So I don't know. Maybe you want to turn to this guy and see what he really has, and you build back from the ground up with the young rookie quarterback. And I mean, a lot of these guys are looking better than the veterans that are trying to earn the backup spot next to them. So it is that kind of effect of, like, the guys that stayed in school the longest they're coming out now, and maybe we're seeing a little turn of the style of football where college guys who do get those 4 years in are going to be prioritized.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, these are quarterbacks that didn't play at necessarily small schools, but they didn't play at the biggest university. I mean, besides Stetson Bennett, didn't play at the biggest universities and just feel comfortable in pro-style offenses. Feel comfortable. It doesn't feel like the game is going too fast for them. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is actually a guy that the 49ers met with, like 3 or 4 times pre-draft. So you know that Kyle Shanahan and crew really felt comfortable with this guy, and were probably, if they hadn't had the offseason that they had in getting Sam Darnold and Brandon Allen, they might have drafted him. There was kind of that run on quarterbacks in the mid-round where it was like, kind of, fuck, we just missed our guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of hurt watching, like, Dorian Thompson-Robinson looking good, or like Jake Haener out there looking solid, because these are guys that we talked about, like, man, wouldn't it be cool if the 49ers drafted these guys, and then they kind of can't work their way up to be the backup. But it was all hypotheticals, but it sucks that there was some quarterbacks I really liked in this draft, and the 49ers didn't get anyone. But I'm a Brock Purdy guy through and through. I'm a ride for my guy. Please, Trey Lance fans, don't hate me for that. Last topic of the day, we just want to get into Skip Bayless, a big topic, big talker, one of the main talkers. What's the status of his show now that, Shannon Sharp's left? Have you heard anything about what Shannon's going to do?
I think rumor has it that Shannon is going to be opposite Stephen A. Smith on First Take. I'm not 100% sure if that's actually true. But if so, I guarantee you that they paid him a lot of money to do that.
If that's true, he got a bag. Oh, Shay Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going on with Skip?
Yes, so Skip Bayless, Undisputed, is going to be back. I believe it's next week, the 28th. A brand new opening song by Lil Wayne. My good friend Lil Wayne, is going to have a new song for him. And it's going to be what he calls the Dream Team. I don't know if it's going to be all of them at the same time and rotating in this Dream Team, but it's Richard Sherman, who he has a history with, which actually I'm a little bit intrigued. I'm a little bit intrigued by that.
I don't care.
It's Richard Sherman, Michael Irvin, and Keyshawn Johnson. And that is his what he calls the dream team of panelists. And it was actually harder. Are you surprised that it was kind of hard to get this role filled?
It's no. I mean, they had it. They had Shannon Sharp. That was the guy. Younger than Skip Bayless. I would have slowly transitioned to Shannon Sharp, and that could have been your breadwinner for the next 15, 20 years. As Skip Bayless kind of fans sort of have been in decline. No one really cares about debate shows anymore. I don't know if I'm just speaking for myself here, but I've seen not a lot of people really care about the Skip Bayless show, other than Shannon Sharp being very entertaining. And when's the last time you've heard from Stephen A. Smith? Like, when have you seen a viral Stephen A. Smith clip since he's lost his co-host? Like, since he's kind of went on his own or done like Stephen A. versus the world, like no one watches that anymore, and no one cares about the clips. No one cares about, like, everyone is really on to their brand of saying outlandish things, and it's gotten to be a tired medium.
Yeah, so let me disagree with you on that. Let me debate you on that. No, I think what it is the debate show is it's just tired at this point. But I actually do like Stephen A. Smith. I don't know if you've seen some of the clips from him on Paul George's podcast, but him just candid and speaking like, oh, hey, like he has a ton of stories about just being in the industry, whether it be football, whether it be basketball. He just has a lot of stories, and he's just cool to like just kind of let it rip. If he did more shit like that, like that'd be awesome.
Let me clarify. That's Stephen A. Smith, the person.
Yeah.
We're talking about Stephen A. Smith, the character who was on ESPN.
Oh, yeah. No, it's the hot take culture. I think hot takes are, it's cool. You get like the conversation and you get engagement, which is ultimately what ESPN wants on social media. But realistically, it's not that entertaining. You get the 20-second clip of someone saying something outrageous, whether it be him or even JJ Redick. I don't really like JJ Redick on First Take, and I know you say you like his podcast, but him on First Take, like, he's an asshole. Like, he sucks. Like, I'm not a big JJ Redick guy, but if like you get them alone on their podcast where they're just chatting it up, they're actually super interesting. And I think that's where more media is going to start to head moving forward.
Is it just ESPN that fucking sucks?
No, it's FS1 too.
Okay. No, but I'm saying like the networks, is it just them that suck? Because I enjoy listening to Stephen A. Smith off ESPN. I really love JJ Redick's podcast off ESPN. But like put any of these guys on ESPN, like I don't care.
Yeah, and I think like that's just the thing. Like I think they're going to squeeze every last drop out of the debate show that they can, because it does still drive engagement. You do still get people who literally argue in the comments like, oh, this is so stupid, blah, blah, blah. But because they're baiting you to do that. They want you to, because that drives ad revenue, that drives clicks. That's really what it is for them. It's the social media game where we can charge things on our YouTube for you to just sit there and make this dumb argument and go back and forth in the comments.
That's the whole reason we kind of won't really touch any more Tyreek Hill podcast stuff, because he's like the main person who is like, I'm going to say some outlandish stuff and everyone's going to talk about it. And like, he's literally just doing it to promote his podcast. And I think LaShawn McCoy kind of started off as like that kind of guy, but I think recently he's tapered that down a little bit. He's trying to become more of an analyst, even though people disagree with his takes.
Actually, I was listening to him on Part of My Take, and he actually, I liked his interview, and he was saying that he really did want the Undisputed job with Skip. So I'm surprised that they didn't go with LaShawn McCoy, who was actually really vying for it.
I mean, maybe he just he's not a big enough name, like has a big enough fan base. which is it's weird because they've already done this situation with like multiple people rotating in or like trying to find that next co-host with Stephen A. Smith, where they're like Stephen A. Smith is going to rotate in what like Michael Irvin. They brought in like all kinds of different people, and it didn't work. No one cared. And now they're going to do the same exact thing with Skip, and it's just like, you guys, if you'd have just paid Shannon Sharp and like made him the star, you guys wouldn't be struggling and having to pay 3 different guys.
Yeah. And I just think like it's one of those it's kind of dead, but you can't as ESPN, as FS1, you just can't let that go. You gotta drive that ad revenue.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still watching Pat McAfee show.
It's good. Yeah.
Still good.
But it's not a debate. It's a conversation.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not watching debate shows. I'm watching like Pat McAfee show. I'm watching like That's Good Sports. Shout out to that show.
Rich Eisen is really good.
Rich
Dan Patrick is good.
I watch PFT, Pro Football Talk. So I know Florio gets a lot of hate. I like Sims. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of good content out there that isn't people just trying to give hot takes and like argue and be loud. So
yeah, I wish at the end of the day, like, this is the internet. Let's have some fun, you know?
Yeah, but not don't be the loud, annoying kid that wants the attention at the party. That's these debate shows.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for today? I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm chilling. Hey, appreciate you. Go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the pod. This is on YouTube, and we also have an audio version as well on all audio platforms. So take us everywhere.
See ya.